Seinfeld is airing season 8, episode 4, The Little Kicks. Elaine displays her embarrassing dancing skills. Jerry gets involved in bootleg filmmaking, and George acts like a bad boy to woo Elaine's employee. Hilarity ensues.
Yes. This is like I told you before, I think before we started recording, doing this show with you has definitely given me appreciation for some shows that I didn't appreciate in the 90s. Quantum Leap, for example. A Quantum Leap's thrown in there. But Seinfeld specifically, this show does not make a bad episode of TV. It doesn't. I mean,
The ones we've covered, yeah.
it's insane. This is hilarious. And the dancing thing, I've never seen this episode and I knew about this. The whole crazy seizure dancing. I mean,
Dude, and that's the thing about the 90s, bro. Like, same thing with me. Like, there are certain aspects of this show that I was aware of before I like actually sat down and watched it, like everything on Hulu one time. And you don't have that in today's shows where somebody can make a reference to something like Elaine's dancing or Festivus for the rest of us. Like, there's nothing that just stands out in any of today's television programming.
no, I mean, there's no, and I think it's a combination of things. The just so many options that nobody's watching one specific thing. There's very few shows that the world's watching. You know, I think the last time I remember that was maybe like when Lost was going on or something like that. You know, like where people were regularly like, everyone was communicating about it. But yeah, for sure. But this episode, I mean, it's amazing from front to back. At the ending of it, I almost shit myself watching it. I wasn't even expecting it. So this, shout out to everyone involved, because like I said, I didn't appreciate this. And this is the beauty of doing the show with you, is that now I get to watch this and it's like, damn, this is amazing. I gotta watch all of it.
And we start this episode off with Jerry talking to Kramer about what's the safer side of the sidewalk.
Yeah, and I gotta say, the logic, pretty sound. You know, I think Kramer's the one that says he'd rather take an AC unit falling on him than getting like hit by a car.
Yeah.
But I kind of agree, but in the same way, like I think Jerry's like a couple or no, because Kramer says he'd rather get hit by a car. He's like a couple of some hip surgery, a couple of bolts, you're good as new. If I get hit by an AC, it's donezo. And you're right about that. But you know, maybe just have a nice healthy awareness of your surroundings, Steve. I think that's the best answer to that question.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if Kramer's ever really aware of his surroundings. Elaine, she's got some new fingernail paint. She's having a party for her employees, and George overhears this. She doesn't want George to be there.
No, it's going to fuck the vibe up. But George gets that invite, Steve. She's like, whatever, you can show up. So George shows up and immediately fucks the vibe up. He's hogging all the quesadillas. As he's getting like the 8th quesadilla off of this chick's platter, he sees Anna, who I believe is one of Elaine's employees, obviously. Yeah. And she's like, ugh, what the fuck? And she seems a little bit put off by him, and she just walks away, Steve. You know, blatant disrespect. But I mean, he still has a plate full of delicious quesadillas. So,
well, she walks away after he introduces himself. He's like, yeah, I'm George. I'm a friend of Elaine Bennis. She's like, oh.
And then the music starts, Steve. And Elaine's like, guys, who's gonna dance? Let's dance. I'll get it. I'll get the party started. And then it gets, I mean, almost I would get a belt out to possibly help her not swallow her tongue, because I'd assume she's having some kind of a seizure, Steve. It's pretty erratic.
And then she loses all of her sexiness when she hits that dance floor.
It's tough, but everyone's watching, Steve. Everyone's like, yeah, it's a universal response to it. It's disgust.
Did you see the brother standing behind her? It was just this look of disbelief, like, oh.
Is she trying to do that? Is she okay? That's what I'm saying. I'd have a belt like, don't let her swallow her tongue. Get her down.
Man, it went from a look of disbelief to a look of being pissed, just like, where the fuck y'all got me at?
Boo. He just starts booing her. then we cut to Jerry's. Jerry's got two tickets to the hottest ticket in town, Death Blow.
Death blow.
Sounds dope, Steve. I'd definitely be in attendance. He had to go through a lot to get those ticks. But Kramer's like, look, dude, I got a buddy. Can you give me one more? Because he would love to see this movie. He's a huge fan. He's a buddy of mine. Come on. Come on. So Jerry's like, all right, fine. I'll get 3 tickets to this shit. And I think George comes through.
Yeah.
And Jerry's like, so how was Elaine's party last night?
It was entertaining to say the least. What happened? Well, have you ever seen Elaine dance? She danced. It's like a full body dry heave set to music.
And he saw this 5 years ago, Steve. And when he saw it, Jerry did like the Homer meme where he was like, all right, I'm out.
That shit
It's
was
that
hilarious
bad.
too, because Jerry's look is just like, what the what the fuck is going on?
It's like what my face would be if you walked in on like a murder scene where you're like, no. It's the gateway to hell, Steve, is really what it is. So,
Yeah.
she made a fool of herself, but Elaine calls Jerry, and she's even aware of some kind of vibe thing going on. She's like, it's weird. Like ever since my party last night, just seems like I've lost the respect of my squad in some way. I don't know what I did,
I bet it was George. I knew it. I shouldn't have invited him to that party.
motherfucker.
And Jerry's like, Elaine, it's not George. If it's not, then Jerry, then what is it?
Well, it has to be George, Steve. So she hangs the fucking phone up. And Anna's in the room, the lady that cold shouldered George at the party last night. And she's like, did you meet that guy, George? And Anna's like, yeah, he seemed fine. He was fine. She's like, no, this guy is a bad news. He's a bad guy. Everything
He's
he
very
does,
harmful.
yeah, it's the opposite of being a wingman, Steve. She just downgrades George into just nothing. But Anna's like, if my boss doesn't like this guy, I think I do. So now that gets her all aflutter. And, at some point she gets on the phone. We cut to the diner. We hear that George actually got a call from Anna and she wants to go out. And it's really because of what Elaine said. So in a way, she was a good wingman, Steve.
In a way, yeah. And Jerry breaks it down for him. It's like, you're already a bad son. You've been a bad friend, bad nephew, bad grandson, bad sports fan. Well, all right, dude. Bad fiance, bad husband. Well, dude, all right. We get the picture.
Subpar lover. I mean, it's there. But it seems like Anna loves a bad boy, George. So be that bad boy.
I took my grandma car because I got mad at my mom, and then I suddenly had my friend come in, and he smokes with cigarettes.
Be the bad boy.
Be AJ from the Backstreet Boys. Take a cane out. So now George's wheels are a turning, Steve. But now it's time for Death Blow. Kramer and Jerry are seated. They're waiting. And this is, I think, like a premiere. This is a big thing, Steve. In walks Kramer's buddy, Brody. And, Brody's an unsavory. He looks like Clint Howard almost. And he's packing a lot, Steve. He's got a bag of something.
This bootleg snack bag.
I don't know what it looks it looks almost muggy what he's got. He's muggy, and he's also kind of got a bad attitude. He's just kind of just a shit person. But it's Death Blow. So the movie starts. Jerry settles in to watch this fucking action extravaganza. But as soon as the movie starts, Brody takes his food and is like, gets that bootleg going, Steve, that old school.
He just breaks out the camera, and Jerry's just like, what the hell is he doing? Like, he does that all the time.
It's a job. It's his job.
He's making a copy so he could sell it on the street. Like Kramer just like brushes it off like it's no big deal. It's kind of a felony, but whatever.
Just what Brody does, dude. Chill the fuck out. So that's happening. As we cut back to George now, he's in the park, Steve. And he's in full bad boy mode
because it's fun. It's fun to do bad things.
and not the Diddy kind of bad boy. We're talking a good bad boy. He's got his dad's classic coupe. I forget what it is. It's parked he just parked it on the lawn in a park. Fuck parking, ultimate bad boy. And he's just out there just kind of feeling the vibe, Steve, waiting for Anna to show up, just sort of he's almost ready to light up a cigarette just to like really put the cherry on top,
And when Anna shows up, she's like, I'm not supposed to be talking to you. Well, no one's putting a gun up to your head. You scared of me? No. Well, kinda.
But then Elaine comes by in a cab because she's got some kind of sixth sense about this, and she cock blocks, puts Anna in a cab, and she's like, George, I don't want you infecting my staff. I mean, what kind of friend is this?
You do not talk to him. Stay away from this man. Get in that car, young lady.
George. Anna's gushing, Steve. Anna's just moistening the seat covers in that cab. And then we come back to Death Blow. And, Brody, the snack bag's gone wrong on him in some way. And he's starting to get some stomach cramps. And he's like, I gotta shit, dude. I gotta go. I need somebody to help me out. Jerry, you got to get me this tape. You got to finish this bootleg for me. I got to sell this. And Jerry's like, what the fuck, dude? I'm not going to do this. And I think, I didn't see this. I think I was taking a note. Does Brody pull a gun on him in the theater?
He flashes it. Brody flashes out the Thule. And the first time I saw this episode, I'm like, whoa, dude, this escalated way too quick.
For a bootleg tape? Damn, Brody.
Like, man, the bootleg streets are not safe with Brody out here free.
Magnum 357. I mean, the dude's about to just set up shop on Jerry right in there. But Jerry's like, holy shit, dude. And does it, Steve. He has to. His life's on the line. He's got a bootleg for his life.
And then we cut to the next morning. Kramer comes up and he's like, so how was Death Blow? It's like, dude, I cannot do this. Brody showed up at my house this morning to pick up the tape. I'm scared out of my mind.
At 3 a.m. Yeah. And he's like, dude, what the fuck? But then Brody shows up and apparently he's like, streets are talking, Jerry. You're the Steven Spielberg of this bootleg game. Yeah. The angles, just the subtext you're putting in with the zooms and the whole thing, the pans and the zooms. It's fantastic. I got to hire you.
I've never seen such great work. I got another project for you called Cry Cry Baby. I was going to get one of my other guys, but it's an artsy movie and he doesn't have those kind of sensibilities.
He doesn't have the chops. Not like you, Jerry, but Jerry's like, I don't know, man. So that's all going down. I mean, he's intimidated. He agrees because the guy's got a tool. He has a tool in the waistband, Steve. He also looks like he has some kind of like itchy like bugs on him. He just looks gross. Steve.
Really sweaty.
Yeah, he's got a greasiness to him, and that's appropriate because he's a greasy individual. But go cut to Elaine's job. She's in this hoity-toity office. And they're having a staff meeting, and Anna walks in rocking that very familiar Yankees jacket that I believe I saw George in a few scenes ago. And it's like obvious. She's like, where'd you get that jacket, Anna? Didn't I tell you who not to hang out with? And I think Elaine's like, it seems like something a short, stocky, bald man. So she knows where it came from.
Yeah, that shit was hilarious.
And we cut to the movies again. And because Jerry's like didn't agree to do the bootlegging, he said, I'm not going to do it. So Kramer did it on his behalf. So Kramer's in a theater now bootlegging this French movie that, Brody wants. But he's hamming it up with the old guy next to him. He's just loving it, Steve.
He's moving the camera around. He's panning the crowd. He's talking.
You're gonna hear him chewing the popcorn, laughing. I mean, he's fucking it up. And we cut from this to Jerry, and Jerry's critiquing the bootleg. Like, I mean, the shots are all off.
What were you
Where's
thinking?
your head at? Where's your framing at? Who's the subjects, Kramer? And he's like, you're not going to give this to Brody. I'm not going to accept this to be presented on my behalf. This is not my work.
You know what? It's not even about the money, Kramer. I do this for the kids. I overheard a kid talk about how great the quality was on Death Blow, and that's what I do it for, Kramer.
I do it for that. I mean, somewhat the adulation. But when that kid smiles at me and tells me that bootleg was fantastic, that's really where it goes. That's where my heart's at. But he needs to get a storyboard going for this. He's got to get some extra stuff, So he's like, we're going to reshoot this. And Lane comes in sad because, she has no respect to it. She's a real Rodney Dangerfield at her job now. She's the boss, but her staff just seems to have just lost they're just talking behind her back, Steve, and she just can't figure it out. She nipped George out. Or
She still thinks he's the reason, yeah.
But Kramer, she starts I think Jerry says something about dancing, but she starts dancing, right?
She starts dancing, and then Kramer cuts her off like, "Oh, girl, whoa,
you stink,
you stink." And then he leaves, and then she kind of grills Jerry about it, like, "Wait, he's tripping, Jerry. My dancing doesn't stink, does it?"
You're beyond stink. You're a dead body. You're a fucking Sasquatch. You fucking stink, bitch. Yeah, how she dances worse than me, Steve. I mean, the confidence of this woman, but she is beautiful. So I think that's where you get that.
And as Jerry's leaving, Elaine's about to do a little dance routine. He's like, "No, not in my home.
You can't sully this place." So he's like, "I'm going to go take the trash out and maybe throw your dance moves in this bag so I can throw them out with it." But he leaves, and then Elaine just sees that camcorder that's sitting there, and I guess, she decides to make a little tape.
And then Elaine, she apologizes to George on the speakerphone with Anna right there. And she's just like, "You know what, George? I had you all wrong. I thought all of this was because of you. And, Anna, you need to know that George is actually a good person."
Shut up!
Yeah. Elaine, pick up the phone. Pick up the phone,
Elaine. You're ruining this. Because Anna's losing moisture as she hears all this stuff. She's like, "Ugh, good guy. Ugh.
Yeah.
Nice, polite. Why would I want something like that when I could have a bad boy?" This is really actually pretty accurate, Steve. I've run into this a lot in my life.
The accuracy of it all, Matt.
That's what women want, Steve. They want the bad boy. They want the guy who's, maybe going to not be around, or maybe even do some other crazy shit like mystical. That's what that's where they veer to. But back to the movie, back to the bootlegging, because, entrepreneurs got to be entrepreneuring. So Jerry's at the movie theater, and Brody shows up, I think, looking for this tape. And Jerry's like, "Hey, look, man, the tape got fucked up.
I'm scouting
right now, and I'm going to need a couple other things. I'm going to need a couple other guys. I'm going to need radios because I'm going to be needing to be in communication with these guys, and I'm going to need a bunch of cameras. We're going to do a multi-cam setup. Going to need a couple of lights, brought in, maybe a couple of Apple boxes, maybe a couple C-stands, to use some behind-the-scenes terminology. But regardless, I'll have this tape to you soon." And Brody's like, hey, dude, this isn't a fucking charity. I need a fucking tape. Don't make me remind you what I got in these jeans, Jerry.
And then Jerry just walks off like, "That's it. I can't work like this. I'm out of this project.
Fuck this." And Brody's like, "Hey, I need that fucking tape." And, Kramer's a little, he's scared, Steve, but there is a tape out there with, maybe some subpar camera work that they still have in the mix. So I think that Kramer promises a tape, and that's the one that Brody's going to get.
We cut back to the diner, and George is griping, Jerry is griping about two completely different things. And then Kramer follows Jerry into the diner, and he's just pleading with him, like, "Jerry, we have to figure out a way to get this tape." One of them says, like, "I can't do this. This is dangerous."
Bootlegging business is too fickle. It's too dangerous now. It used to be all about just all about the quality, all about the art. Now it's just, money and drugs and people threatening me with guns in their waistbands.
And George hears this, and he's like, "Did you say dangerous?" We cut to the next scene, and George is driving with Anna in the car. He's like, "Yeah, I'm a bootlegger, baby. Yeah."
What? You don't know? This is the most underground thing a guy can do in this city. I used to human traffic. Now I'm bootlegging French movies. Let's go.
Are these fiber pills?
Wait, is this a fucking lower back stabilizing pillow and a donut? Yeah. Maybe this is my dad's car. He doesn't have to say it, but so he's going to take Anna to bootleg, but then it must have gone bad because George got arrested. See, he really is a bad boy.
I wanted to do hood rat stuff with my friend.
They throw the tape in the VCR, and it's not even "Cry Cry Baby." It's probably like a scene from the movie, and then you cut to Elaine dancing.
She's pop locking, Steve. She's dancing like Akeem the African Dream. She is a jive soul. Yeah, I mean, for real. So there's a tape, Steve, but I don't know if Brody's going to like the camera work or the alternate scene with a spastic Elaine. You know, that's when we cut to the police station. So Anna's getting picked up. Elaine's there. George is in tears. Frank shows up, and George's dad is just like, "My son's a bootlegger," and this is classic Frank Costanza, Steve. This is what I was talking about.
Elaine says, "Oh, he could never be a bootlegger. He doesn't have the mind."
She says something, but Frank's like, "Bitch, I'm gonna fucking throw 5 across your chops. You think I don't give a fuck?" And they do like a Rocky 3 ending where they're about to hit each other. I love that.
And then we cut to the next scene, and then Elaine, she's like just caressing her fists. It's like, well, he wrote the check, and I cashed it.
Credits also I love because they, her and Jerry are they're walking down the street, and she's like, it's weird. This whole feeling I have, I just still have it. Jerry's like, I don't. I think everything's okay. But it turns out, Steve, that everybody has seen this tape, and everyone in New York City now is just talking behind Elaine Bettis's back about what can only. It's not Soul. Her dancing is Soul Train-esque. Not at all. It's just terrible. It's terrifying. It's what you see somebody do when they're possessed by Satan himself. So she's not going to win Star Search for a dance routine, but Elaine, you know what? I'm not a good dancer either, and you're beautiful, so let's hang out.